Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Donovan and today I'm excited to share with you an unboxing and quick first look at this device right here. This is the Moto G7 and it's available right now at places like Best Buy and probably some other retailers as well for $300. It is also available on Amazon.com, so I'll leave a link down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. However, right now, for some reason, it's actually currently unavailable on Amazon and I'm not really sure why because it was just available yesterday, not available today, so I don't know if they've already sold out or what, but whatever, it's not available at the moment. So I'll leave a link down in the description anyways if you're interested in checking it out. So the Moto G7, like I said, it's available at Best Buy. That's where I picked mine up. You can see right here it's available for $200. However, that's a little bit misleading. The full retail price is right over here, $300 if you activate it later. This whole activate today option is only if you get it activated on Sprint. If you get it activated on Verizon or AT&T, it's $250 at least at the moment. So the prices keep going up on the Moto G7. I paid the full retail price of $300. Now with that, what do you get? Well, you do get some upgrades to the device. It's not a lot of upgrades, to be completely honest with you. The cameras are basically the same from last year. We have a 12 and 5 megapixel camera on the rear. But we do have an upgraded processor, so that's one thing that they've pretty much been talking about a lot in the ads, if you see any ads for it. One thing that they've been talking up is the fact that they've boosted the processor, so now instead of the Snapdragon 450 processor, now it has the Snapdragon 632 processor. So it's supposed to be a little bit faster. And so we'll test that out in the Geekbench scores here in just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and power it on. And again, on the rear we have those dual cameras, so 12 and 5 megapixel camera on the rear, 8 megapixel camera up front. You can see we obviously have much more of a full screen device here with that little teardrop. So very similar actually to this device right here. This is my Umidigi F1. So this one is, I think, like a $220 device, but this one's kind of like the unicorn device at the moment because it's super hard to find, but very similar in design. This one has a metal back, whereas this one has a glass back. 6.2-inch display, 1080p, so that's also another upgrade. However, the battery size is the same, so we still have a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, which they claim gets really good battery life. We'll have to test that out over time. I'm going to go ahead and set it up here, but first let's go ahead and take a look at what you get in the box. So, oh, and we do also have Android 9.0 here, so that's another upgrade you have from last year. So we have our books, we do have a SIM removal tool in there. We also have, hopefully, a Type-C cable. I believe it's going to be Type-C. Yes, it is, Type-C. And then we have our 15-watt turbocharger, so that's nice. We get some turbo charging power there with that. And so with that, let's go ahead and take a quick look around the device. Again, this is a 1080p display. We have our power button down here, volume rocker over here, very similar to what you get on most Motorola devices over the past. Very Motorola-like camera, almost looks like it's kind of like a shocked face looking at you there. We have our fingerprint sensor, which we'll have to test out in just a little bit. So no fingerprint sensor up front like you've gotten on some previous Motorola devices. We have our SIM tray up here, it looks like, and let's see if there's anything else. So Type-C. It looks like we actually have a bottom firing speaker here, and then our headphone jack. So I'm going to go ahead and get it set up. I'm going to run a few tests on it and come right back with you and give you some just quick first glances at the device. Alright, so I got the Moto G7 all set up and I want to go ahead and just make a few quick observations about the device. So I've already mentioned a lot of the specs. A couple things I did not mention though when I was talking about the specs is that this one does come with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage. And while I was taking out the SIM card, you might have noticed that there was an option for a micro SD card up to 128 gigs of extra storage. So in total you're getting pretty close to having up to 200 gigs of storage with a micro SD card. So that's a great option as well. As far as the processor goes, this is not a huge upgrade, but there are some things other than just flat out processing speed that you get as advantages with the new processor. So one of them being in the camera functions, but over here in the multi-core score, we have a 4815 single core score of 1259. Again, this is running the Snapdragon 632 processor, 4 gigs of RAM. That's an octa-core processor clocked at 1.8 gigahertz, which is actually the exact same clock speed you had on the Moto G6, but that one was running the Snapdragon 450. So a couple of the things that I'll mention that you definitely get as an advantage is there definitely are some faster overall speeds in terms of data speed. So that's one thing you're going to get as an advantage with the 632. So I'll just go in here to the results. I don't need to show you. But this is definitely a little bit faster clock speeds than I was able to get with the Moto G6. So that's nice in terms of LTE data speeds. This is running off of Mint Mobile at the moment, which is, again, a T-Mobile MVNO. So that's one thing that you'll get. Also, in terms of the camera, this one does have the ability to shoot in 4K. So that was not an option you got with the G6. And again, that's because of the upgraded processor. You can see there is a stabilization option here, so that's great. I believe it's electronic image stabilization, but as we get into doing more testing with it, we'll do some more investigating there. But you can see we do have portrait mode, of course, because we do have the dual cameras back there. So that's a 12 and 5 megapixel camera. We have the option for this cutout. So that basically allows you to put one thing in the frame, and then when you put that thing in the frame, usually it's a person, you can put them into a different background. So that's kind of a cool thing. I never really used that one much. We have spot color, so that's going to allow you to pick a particular color like that one there and highlight that color. So that's kind of cool. So that's one thing you can do. We have Cinematograph, also Panorama, and then Live Filter. We have AR stickers, YouTube Live, that's kind of cool, time-lapse and slow motion. So that's definitely one thing I think that sets this phone apart from other phones in this price range. So like specifically I'm thinking of the Umidigi F1, which has very, very few camera features, whereas this one has a lot of camera features that you would typically only see in more expensive phones. So that's really awesome. And again, we come up here into the settings. It keeps moving on me because I keep switching there, but you can see here, if I go into the rear camera for video size, you can see we do have the option of 4K 30 frames per second, also 60 frames per second in 1080p. So definitely some nice upgrades there with the camera. That's one thing I really like. Also, because we have Android 9.0, we do also have this one-button navigation that I really like. I actually think out of all the Android 9.0 one-button navigation options, this one is definitely among the top, maybe with the OnePlus 6, right up there with the OnePlus 6T. So we can slide this over to go back, we can slide it over to go to our most recent app, and then you can see that if we slide it up slowly, we can get into our most recent apps as well. If I actually pull it there, all right, so there we go. So there's all of our recent apps. So that's really cool. And then just tapping it is the home option. And then if I hold it down, it'll give us into get us into Google Assistant. Now, again, a couple other features that we have here with the Moto Actions. We have chop twice to turn on our flashlight. I'm going to make a separate video about all these different features that you get here. So chop it again, and we can turn it off. We can flip our wrist to turn the camera on. And you can see that's obviously very fast as well. We'll go home. And then also the fingerprint sensor on this is very fast. That's really nice as well. I would say out of all the Motorola phones I've tested in the recent past, this one is definitely the best fingerprint sensor, and it's super accurate. In fact, I've not had actually one mistake with it so far, and I'd say I'd probably tested it maybe 100 times already, and you can see it's very, very quick. So that is really nice to have on a mid-range device. Now, a couple noticeable features that you're missing here. There is no NFC, there is no wireless charging, so despite the fact that it has a glass back that's very slippery and obviously a fingerprint magnet, which is why I have this case on here again, it does not have wireless charging, so that's a noticeable missing feature here with the Moto G7. So overall, though, solid option again from Motorola. A lot more coverage to come on the G7 in the very near future. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.